I have my cute little items from the 99-cent store. Isn't this clever? For the low of 99 cents, it is a veil and a tiara in black. And then it has, you know, one piece that goes over your face and one piece that goes over your head for that modest Bride of Frankenstein look. But it does make it hard to do your makeup. What do you think? This would be fabulous for going to a party. It's not the greatest item in the world, but, you know, here's this fabulous choker, right? I would wear this choker in normal life for $1.49, and then I have this little shorty witch cape or vampire cape. Oh, it still has a little plastic bits in it. I should take that off. I don't want anyone to question that I'm a real night creature. In any case, this is going to distract me during my makeup process. I hope everything is good where you are. Let's see. All messages are visible. Welcome to my pre-Halloween makeup exploration. We do have, you know, some products from Sephora that we are interested in testing out. We are always interested in raising money to buy tattoos that we are not wearing. We have a blurring primer on our face. I have heard people talk about, you know, using some kind of hydrating or other kind of spray on the skin as you are making it up, but I wonder if that's even necessary. This is the Revolution Hyaluronic Fix Hydrating and Plumping Makeup Fixing Spray. So is this the sort of thing that we can get on our face as a kind of wet, a moistening base for our Sephora makeup, or is there a better option? Here is the Revlon Photo Ready Rose Glow Mist. Are we interested in glowing? Are we not interested in glowing? Because, you know, we want to give this, I believe it's a Radiant Finish foundation, a fair shake without kind of obscuring the finish that it has. Here is a very inexpensive face hydrating primer from our friends at Ione. You can get it at the dollar store for, I believe the price is $1.29 now, right? Not $1 anymore because, as Cooper says, inflation. So if we just get a very singular drop, or, ooh, it's more of a gel consistency. We get that in our dish and then, you know, get it on our flexible silicone sponge and spread that around just for grip. You know, we're not going anywhere. We're maybe going to the gym, but, you know, as I've said, people have been messing around in the garden, getting a few drops of water into our dish. And, you know, as I was doing my morning activities, I found that someone had dragged a whole shopping cart from Target into the community garden, right? And it's such a struggle to keep the garden growing. It's a drought in California, but here they go, dragging all this over the plants that we've labored so hard to collect and plant, dig holes, water them, and all of that. Just so disrespectful, right? And damaging. And all over Hollywood and West Hollywood, you can just see people who are, you know, angry and acting out. Maybe they're drunk, maybe they're high, maybe they're just, I hate to sound dismissive, maybe they're nuts. But, you know, they tip over these very heavy planters at the Target. But I got kind of waylaid because I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get this shopping cart out of here. They had pulled some of our cactuses out of the ground and then put them on top of the shopping cart. I dragged that shopping cart all the way back to Target. And that kind of, you know, wore me out. So am I going to the gym? I might just lift or do abs, I think. I've had a couple of small cups of cold brew and it hasn't, this is very nice. It is smoothing. It's very cheap. It feels like pure glycerin. I don't have the package anymore, but it definitely feels grippy and emollient, right? that you want something that's gonna help adhere your makeup to your face, and you want to, you know, just be mindful of maintaining moisture here in the desert. But in any case, I felt like I owed it to the Target Corporation to return their property and not just, you know, push the cart out of the garden or push it over onto the next block. I understand the need that people who are unhoused have for, you know, being able to transport their items, but I don't support theft and I don't support vandalism, right? I do support tattoo money, and I do support, you know, exploring your makeup practice on a regular basis so that what? We can practice for when we have to be camera ready. So from here, we did do a nice job yesterday, right? Let's get that choker and this cape into the picture. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 peanut butter sandwiches, as the count would say. Was that Sesame Street or the Electric Company? I can't quite remember. But I'm always ending up doing my makeup in the evening when I don't have the best light. But we had used a darker color of the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. I did see someone give a negative review to one of the other e.l.f. concealers. I don't think I've ever had any but the Camo Concealer. Satin finish and hydrating. Hydrating being the key in the desert, right? You don't want to mess with anything that's going to dry you out worse than you already are. This is light ivory. I think this is a lighter shade than we used yesterday, but we're going to do the same jazz. Just get it from the applicator into our dish. Bing! And then use that to highlight and conceal around the face. I wonder, I did see a tutorial where someone did their contouring first, but we're not going to do that. Ooh, that's bright. Wow. When they say light, they weren't joking. Talk about darkness. That fella on set, who is now, you know, somewhere else, off to his own devices. He had so much to say about under eye darkness, but you know, sometimes you want your under eye darkness to show through your makeup. It's a certain aesthetic that makes you look under made up, right? You don't want to necessarily look like you are made up to the nines. You want to look corrected, perfected, but not, you know, this isn't the Emmys or the Oscars. You just want a kind of normal level of beauty, right? They say let your concealer concentrate at your darkest places. They say, you know, let it sort of sit for a minute to give you fuller coverage. But again, we're underpainting, right? I do kind of pay attention to the folks that talk about making a single layer of makeup so that it doesn't look cakey. But I'm also a fan of just light layers, right? And our underpainting with this coverage of the Sephora foundation, even though it looks like a BB cream package, this is part of what makes it affordable. It doesn't come in a glass component. It doesn't have a fancy bottle. Look how bright. Darkness where? Especially when it's, you know, it's becoming night here at like 6:30. Did they say that we're not doing what is it, daylight savings anymore? I kind of don't have the bandwidth to keep complete track of all of these things, but I have heard something of that nature. So we're bright, just looking at ourselves in the monitor, thinking of where we could put the last several drops of this highlighting concealer, right? We used a tiny drop. It is very bright. There is no doubt that we are brightened, right? The bright areas are going to jump forward, maybe get a bit more on that forehead, right? The part that we want to stay visible. We could put a little here on the outside corner of the eye in a lifted shape, right? Lift, maybe a tidbit on the brow bone. We could actually put this concealer all over our lid for a hydrating eyeshadow primer. Look at me. Boo! I'm a ghost. But, you know, when you don't have to be at work, you can liberate yourself to see how very far you can take your makeup, right? Not to like necessarily look unnatural. Now this primer is giving us some texture. Is it the primer or something else? I'm just seeing some little tidbits hanging out on the surface of our skin. But, you know, again, we have to prepare ourselves. When we dabble in the makeup world, we have to recognize the fact that makeup is going to look like makeup on the skin. Yes, it can look more skin-like, but 9 times out of 10, it's going to look like makeup. And that's not necessarily a terrible thing. But same as yesterday, we're going to underpaint our contour. Now, we used not the darkest shade yesterday. Here we have 3 stick foundations, right? 180, 200, 240. Yesterday, I think we messed with 180. Let's give 200 a whirl, right? Just to see what it's looking like. We do have some other colors that are more skin-like. And then here is our Jaclyn Hill contouring brush. It is number JH10. I have seen on Rich Lux's channel that Morphe is going bankrupt. So, you know, according to what Jeffree Star had to say about the situation, the company had been sold about the time that they did their palette and other collabs with him, right? And that he lovingly said that the original owners had less to say and do about their parting ways at that time because of scandal. And even the woman who put Jeffree Star makeup on my face on set did not seem to recognize that there had been, you know, some racism things and then something about tasing to be gentle, a romantic partner. Wow, you know, this cape is hot. I'm like sitting here, maybe it's because I'm talking. It's like, it's giving heat. I'm gonna have to take it off. It does look cool though. This choker looks cool. But Mr. Cape has to, you know, but on a cold Halloween night, you'll be thrilled to have a little layer between you and your, you know, if you're into the hoochie costumes, sometimes they can be a bit bare, which is fine if you're having alcohol. It is Southern California, so it's not going to be like crazy cold. We're just trying to use our brush to keep our contouring precise and thin. I was thinking in bed last night I should use a thinner brush, but maybe I just need to discipline myself to respect the edge and the placement and not let the contour go wandering all over the place, right? Slightly darker color without being dark, 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 dark. So we did effectively get some cardio and a bit of, you know, what is it, weighted carry in, just because we did a little minor grocery shopping. But, you know, I feel like it's important not to let the community garden go by the wayside, because it is a public safety issue and it's honestly a violence issue, right? We made a mural to missing and murdered Indigenous women, and it's not been defaced, but our other mural to Turtle Island was taken away. I won't say stolen, but we've never seen it again. You know, we're just trying to spread the awareness of Indigenous presence and contributions in this area and keep the trash at bay, keep, you know, plants and some circumstances that are friendly to birds and bugs and creatures. It's funny when you just go up the hill from the garden, you see skunks, you see foxes, you see the stray coyote, bunnies, all sorts of wildlife lives in the city because it's not completely a concrete jungle. It is, there's concrete, there's freeways, but there is still a great deal of wildlife and snakes, you know, right near the production stages. So I've been watching with interest people creating nose contour, right? There's this sort of Douyin convention of nose contour. I think it's from China or Taiwan or one of those places. But it's sort of like drawing a diamond on the tip of the nose to give an upturned shape, right? So the middle is left as a kind of lifted, brighter dot. And then there's some kind of 8 triangle kind of thing. I'm a little nervous about that, but we did do the diamond shape on the tip, and that seems to be somewhat convincing, right? We have our highlight, and then we have these lines that stylize our nose. I'm never convinced that it's actually making my nose look smaller. I do see people who manage to do that with their own noses on social media, but you know, I don't hate my nose, I don't hate my face. I'm just trying to practice so that, you know, maybe I just look better than I do when I'm just bare and natural. So using our contour to contour the lid, right? Above the natural crease and into this area that's right under the brow. We did put some brow powder into our brows, right? You're just emphasizing the structure of your brows. Other side, right? Trying to make it symmetrical, leaving the brow bone bare. Trying to get a nice little shape that emphasizes structure and then blend out any, you know, excess depth. You want some shadow, but you don't want it to overwhelm the whole look, right? How much chin contour? I've been looking with fascination at the people who use bronzer, right? And I have some here on the makeup table. Self-tan lotion the night before. What a fascinating concept, especially for contouring the chin. Now, what's unclear is what color you're left with. What level of warmth or orange will that self-tanner deliver, right? Will it be the suspicious orange, or will it be a nice kind of the color of a coconut shell, more gray brown than orange brown? But I think it depends on your skin tone, what you like and what you prefer when it comes to the color of your contour, your tan, etc. So I think that's plenty of this, nearly the darkest, but not quite the darkest shade. 240 is the darkest shade I've seen, and then 200 is, I guess there's a 220 that we haven't seen, but you know, it's very hard to find these products in store. Not every Target has them, and you know, there's some really nice, what do you call it? Hair care products, hair care tools that you can find at various different Targets. So funny. One of the hair people at work was trying to tell me that I should buy one of those wet brushes, wet dry brushes. Oh, it's only $5. It's like, bro, if you could see the collection of brushes that I have, right? My hair is wide tooth detangle, stainless steel Afro pick detangle gently, ponytail and then brush to finesse the smoothness, right? I see people at work who don't have curly hair who, you know, rake through their hair with their fingers or something where their hair is still separated and it's not that smooth, perfected, more professional looking bun. It just looks a little haphazard. I mean, everyone's entitled to their taste, but you know, under normal circumstances where I don't have to like have my hair kind of live up and down and do all that, if I'm caught bun and I can split it, wrap it around my head, put it on a wig, that's much better for me than trying to change the orientation because, you know, when I put my hair up with gel or whatever, unless I wet it down, I really can't move it very well. Anyway, can you see me? I need to replace the batteries in this mirror. Maybe I can brighten these up for you so you can see what I'm working with. So again, the theory is that we have contoured, right? One into the brow, into the lid, one, and then two, right? And we've split our contour. So we're not just doing this and we're not just doing that, but we're doing both, right? To suggest that the structure of the muscles in our face, right? As I move my face, you can see, you know, that's the cheek suck in place, but is it adding warmth? Is it emphasizing the structure? Is it suggesting that these are the places where the face recedes and that these lighter areas are the places that jump forward, that brow bone, that chin? Look at that choker, right? $1.49 of elegance. You know, they're high. You can buy things that are a little bit more expensive at the Target, but I'm not mad at these little accessories that, you know, cost less than a coffee, less than a kombucha. So getting a little of this Sephora S-Clean Clean Glowing Skin Foundation in the shade 19 into our dish, right? We want enough. We don't want too much. Into our dish, trying to control any hint of bacteria, trying not to go in with too much, using our same flexible silicone sponge that it's so soft. We love it so much, right? Getting that onto our silicone sponge and then just sort of dotting it in the places between our contour and highlighter, right? We already have concealer under the eye, but it's very pale. We are aware that you shouldn't put too much non-concealer under the eye because that can lead to creasing, but we do want the color. We want to be left with a structured, brightened, healthy looking skin. Look at that, as opposed to that, right? We don't have endless amounts of time to blend, right, before it dries down, but it's a nice complexion product these Sephora people make. And I've been seeing online some positive reviews for some of their other products. I don't remember what it was. Was it a powder or something, right? Visible contour, visible highlighting. Use our complexion product to blend it all together, right? That's the theory, right? Not a full coverage foundation that's going to cancel out all of our underpainting work, but we just want to make it a little bit more subtle without putting so much product on our face that we look chalky and unrealistic, right? Is this foundation too warm for our natural color, or is it just right? Right? We don't want to cancel out the brightness under the eye, but we don't want to look insane. We don't want to look like we've got, you know, I watch with interest, especially deeper hued folks putting very bright streaks of yellow and then an even brighter concealer. And, you know, for my own taste, I'm always like, wow, even with pale people, sometimes the foundation just on screen looks like it's totally the wrong color. Sometimes they can finesse it and bring it all together, but sometimes it looks like here's your skin tone, and then you're putting these other colors on your face and taking up a lot of your facial real estate, bringing dimension and brightness, but in a way also, I feel like, you know, is it too masky? Is it too different from your skin color? Or do we just trust the process, right? This was my process. I think we got our brightness, we see our structure, we haven't put on so much foundation. And again, this is a beautiful foundation, easy to travel with, it doesn't spill, it gives you clean, glowing skin. And I think that's definitely true. Not so glowy that it's suspicious, but radiant finish and light buildable coverage. It feels great. You're definitely aware that you have it on your skin, but it's not doing you dirty. It's not like feeling and looking like you're trying too hard, right? You're not looking like, you know, some goth or person going to a Ghost Main concert. You're looking kind of normal and moist. You know, you can drag it down the neck or into the ear area, your Target earrings and your costume jewelry popping. We got a little bit on our lips, so it's making us look a little sick, but we're gonna fix that. So from here, very excited to dig further into these products from Sephora. If that's the complexion product, supported by e.l.f. and supported by Thread Cosmetics, right? From here, Sephora S-Clean, Clean Bouncy Eyeshadow Palette. Voila, look at these, right? There's not a lot of mattes in this palette. So similar to the other day, I think that we can support this palette by digging into this e.l.f. palette that has, it's called Mad for Matte. Look at that, right? And we had gone in with the palest shade the other day, but let's go for the second palest, right? We've got a kind of nutty almond brown, and we also have kind of a yellow. So just going in the order of operations, let's just go for the next color over, right? And see what's happening, right? We don't have to commit to, you know, doing anything serious with our face because we're just at home, right? The television gods have seen to it that we can dip our brush in, right? And we can start tapping this through the eye. We know we've underpainted with our foundation stick that is used as a contour, right? I don't think this is having a shade name, but it certainly is clever to follow the guideline of where we put our contour, right? Streaking out toward the temple, leaving that brow bone exposed, taking this color up to the inside of the brow. We didn't put anything in our brows, and some days we don't, right? We did quite a bit on TikTok today, and we can take this color and kiss it down toward the very tip of our lash line, right? Just a little emphasis, a little structure. Other side. We're using the Jaclyn Hill Morphe collaboration JH33, looking into our hand mirror, our kind of Tiffany inspired robin's egg blue, and, you know, being precise and generous with it, right? Thinking about a shape that Luscious Massacre might appreciate. But we're working with neutrals. We're working with matte neutrals and trying to prepare something interesting, something flattering for that very metallic palette from our friends at Sephora. I enjoy all of my Sephora shopping experiences. I don't want to get crazy because of my camera work. I'm not necessarily in a position to utilize all of the expensive makeup, and in that sense I'm kind of shy about buying super expensive makeup, but I do keep track of it. Just squeezing our brush, dragging the same sort of almondy brown under our lower lash line. I've been watching with interest people taking liner and drawing lashes in a triangle shape and other shape, taking tweezers and kind of squeezing lower lashes together with mascara, right? As a single shadow, I'm not unhappy, right? I've closed that palette. And now, the moment of truth for our Sephora palette. Is anyone in the chat? No. Disappointing. Should we blend that or should we leave it? Let's leave it, right? From here, where are we going with these shimmers, right? Do we need to find a darker matte to put in the outer third before we go in with a very powerful shimmer, right? We don't want to put shimmer all over the lid, and certainly we have a variety of colors, but let's see what we can get from this e.l.f. palette that's a little bit darker. We could use the same brush, or we could get into this Morphe M321 pencil brush, right? And let's try the discipline of keeping our outer V darker color, a matte, just on the lid itself, right? That we're not gonna venture all the way up into that crease real estate. For giggles, we could go this rust color, and then we could also go with this purple. Let's try the purple. The purple seems saturated. The darkest color is kind of like either a dark gray. I think it's a gray, not a green. Let me see if I can turn on this light in the corner so that it's not hopelessly dark in here. Is that better? Does that make it less? I can also turn on another light. Hold on. We have our turd of the week pillow behind us in this $2,000 chair that we, I think people in this neighborhood, when they're getting rid of furniture, I think this probably belonged to an editor. Can't recall exactly what it is or what the brand is, but I know it's expensive, and it's so much more comfortable than my old other chairs. And I did put the chairs I didn't want anymore out into the so-called free areas, right? Someone also threw away some cactus down the block that I have ambitions to, get into our garden, only in the sense that many of our plants do not survive because of vandalism. So looking down into our mirror and just trying to keep this color on the lash line, and then very specifically along the confines of the lid itself, right? Just to see what that looks like. If we make just a small V, right? There's any number of makeup tutorials on YouTube from the 1980s. Some of them are models, some of them are Playboy bunnies, but women and men and cosmetic artists have developed this particular style of flattering and emphasizing the eye. Now, this shadow is looking a little bit patchy. Is that because of what I primed my eye with or primed my face with? It's definitely visible, but it's not giving the kind of like smooth gradient. Is it my application? The color is definitely paying off. Will I need to go in with a blending brush? And this is what you call a pencil brush, right? So it has a bit of a point on it. When my eye is open, by putting it into the crease, you can't see it when my eye is closed. So I need to actually apply it a bit above the crease, right? Being mindful not to go all over with it, and being mindful of the shape that we created with our other shadow, right? And again, having sat in professional makeup chairs and understanding now, it's not like you can just slap your makeup on. You really do need to spend some time kind of scratching and blending at it for it to give you what I would call a satisfying blend. You know, no harm if you're in a rush and you don't have the time to do it, or the patience or the interest, but you know, the brushes, the technique, they do actually work. And I think, you know, being in a hurry, you know, I definitely went through a period of either not wanting to bother, not having to bother, pre-global panini, but you know, I appreciate the skill, I appreciate the knowledge, and I appreciate, you know, doing what I can to preserve health on set, right? We could use a blending brush. We could take a little bit of this and get it right into the lower lash line, right? They call it smoking it out so that it just looks a bit smoky, right? Maybe take it a little bit further in, but knowing that we're going to put a shimmer or glitter shade in that inner, let's call it third to a half of our lid. So again, tapping this onto the very discreet and clear edges of the lid itself, right? Into the crease, looking down into our mirror. And so that demonstrates if you have a hooded eye, if you have a deep set eye, you won't necessarily show your shadow in the outer V unless you apply it with your eye open and just kiss it right above that fold. There's nothing wrong with having a hooded eye. I think a lot of times the language makes it seem like it's the exception, right? It's kind of like the way people think of people of color as minorities, and on a global scale that's definitely not true, but the language can make you feel like, oh, I'm the oddball, I'm the one that's different, I've got, you know, unusual eyes. But then you think about how many, especially exotic blondes like a Chris Pine, like a who is the girl in Hunger Games? You know, these are people who have hooded eyes, and it makes you look exotic, right? So exotic isn't bad, exotic is beautiful, but, you know, I definitely have had to grow a comfort level with recognizing what the architecture of my eyes is, what my actual skin color, undertones, and all of that are, how dark, how orange I can allow my, you know, how orange I can allow my contour or bronzer to be without being distracting. And I admire people who can just contour their nose with bronzer. Maybe if I switch back to my back camera, when I look in the mirror, my nose doesn't look the way it looks in the viewfinder. So, you know, there's a certain amount of distortion, I would call it, in the way that we see ourselves in mirror images, whether that's in a mirror or the way that our image is processed in a camera. So just fitting that purple out onto that outer V, kissing it above the crease, doing some amount of gentle strokes to blend it and lift it and, you know, kind of make all of this shadow of a piece. Taking a little bit of it, doesn't look super dark in the pan, but when married with my skin tone, I think it's somewhat more of a jewel tone than it appears in the pan. But closing that up, using the very tip of the brush to kind of stroke it into the lower lash line. Not bad. Not bad at all. Right? We could use another brush to blend all of this out. Smoking that lash line, a little bit more underneath. I find that with the shape of my eyes, I don't like a lot of shadow under my eyes. I don't like a lot of you know, some people have enough lid real estate that they're doing all kinds of swirls and 3 and 4 different colors, and you know, that's kind of like not my lifestyle, or at least not yet. But what's nice is that, you know, in that Marilyn Monroe sense, there's some emphasis on the outer part of the eye. It buys your eyes more real estate. If you add lashes, if you add liner, you can get even more of an eye extension going, right? So we've used these 2 brushes. We could use another brush to get some kind of liner on. The theory being to use a pencil, right? This is an LA Colors Auto eyeliner that's a pencil. It's brown as opposed to black. Oh, or actually this is black brown. Very inexpensive from the dollar store, probably $1.29. But I was happy with how this applied yesterday. So just resting our elbow and then stroking this into the upper part of the lash line. We could also tight line with it just to give a little bit more weight at the lash line, right? Not even really extending it out, but just creating depth and not getting into glue or artificial lashes. It's not that serious. We can extend this all the way across the upper lash line and then just kind of make a tiny, gentle stroke out and down from the inner corner and then straight out from the outer corner, right? Not even lifting up. Just a little bit of something, a little bit of slight wing. Is it a thick eyelash? Is it a clump of eyelash from a mascara? No, but we've given that optical illusion. Sometimes when I'm working on camera, I wish I was able to use my left hand and not just kind of reach across my face. Maybe one day. But same thing. Patiently, gently get that black brown at your lash line. You know, you can't go wrong with an inexpensive cosmetic, because then when you do get into a Marc Jacobs, when you do get into a Pat McGrath, those price points, you'll be practiced. You won't waste it. You could take the same product and tight line under the lash line, right? I prefer tight lining the upper lash line than the lower lash line. I do feel like on my eyes, putting dark colors into my lash line on the bottom closes off my eyes, right? When I watch myself on TikTok and I think and I look to the side, I do like the idea of having a more dramatic extended eye. Just slightly. A little flick at the back, a little flick in the middle buys you more real estate, right? We're seeing that structure from our contour pop through our complexion product. It's time to choose a shimmer, right? Should we go for the palest one, which is kind of this buttery color? We certainly have some yellows and bronzes and coppers, all of that. It's an inexpensive palette. It's not so cheap, but it is affordable, and it allows you to, you know, just kind of experiment with what the, you know, what the Sephora store brand is giving, right? Here we've got some almond brown and we've got some purple, right? Plum, as it were. But if we take our brush and stroke it into this palest shimmer, right? Stroke it in there and get it on our brush. Ooh, we attacked it. It's definitely on the brush. It's very buttery, right? And then on the inner corner, just stamp it. Seems a little crumbly. It's giving us good payoff, however. Is this pale shade the right shade to blend with these other shadows? That's the question. It is giving us light in the inner eye, right? In that innermost corner. and it's reflecting light back into, you know, one of the darkest areas of our face. I have a pretty thick brow, a pretty heavy brow bone, right? Was I destined to be a boy before hormones and whatnot took over? Who can say? But it's part of my unique look, and I like to feather out the shimmer more at the top than at the bottom. I don't know if it's ever valuable enough to cut the crease, because I feel like the gesture of the cut crease is kind of all I'm interested in having the time for. Other side. So here's the inner corner shimmer, and here's without, right? Just adding a little bit more light in that innermost corner, like the wing of a seagull, the wing of a dove, reaching over, reaching out for the tip of that brow. Never quite getting there, but yearning, right? And maybe that's what eyeshadow is about, right? It's an expression of our own artistic yearning as we try to design something clever on our face that honors our heritage, our aesthetics, our color palette, what we like to see. I think one of the most terrifying things on set is when you give control over your makeup to someone and they make choices that you would never make. Not even based on, you know, it being a period of time, but just, I'll never forget, someone put just a line of cobalt blue under my eyes, just a thick, crooked, messy line, and they called themselves done. And that day I figured I'd run across the very frequent person who's just looking to get their hours, and they just come to set. You can look them over and tell they don't know a damn thing about makeup or hair or whatever. It's just a job. So in those circumstances, it's definitely always better to, you know, think of Naomi Campbell in the 90s, where a lot of people did not respect her skin tone, her face shape, her eye shape. Both her and Yasmin Gowri, who was a Pakistani German model, who was one of the kind of famed supermodels of the 90s, they were always, you know, having to fix or do their makeup themselves, right? So that when you're on the catwalk, there's no doubt, there's no question, there's no concealer that's too pale, there's no weird choices that fit the aesthetic of the show but not the aesthetic of your skin tone and face. That by giving yourself the power of makeup, you can see what's done wrong. You can see whether the artist's hand is too heavy or too light, and you can, you know, fix it. So we're going into the same palette as yesterday. Yesterday we used this palest shade. Today, since we have on a plum toned eyeshadow, should we go plum, right? It doesn't look as plum on the screen, or should we go for a bright? This is kind of an orange. This is more of like a red. I guess maybe we should just go for a toned down red, right? Right next to this pink. Taking our brush and just swirling it into the product. It's a cream to powder blush. Making sure we have enough on the brush. Clings to the brush. We don't drop the palette in our lap. And then look into our mirror at the high point of the cheekbone and just kiss that cheekbone. That's a lot of color. This other side. It's definitely a lot of color. I don't think I was prepared for that much color payoff, but let's stamp some into our eye area for color unity, and then across the top of the forehead. Right? If we use the back of the brush, maybe we can blend that in a bit to diffuse it and make it look like maybe up into the eye area, make it look more native to our face, right? Some people say underpaint with your cream blush. And with the strength of this product, that's definitely a consideration, right? The more you bring it down on the apples, the more full your cheeks look, but you're not going to be in photographs looking like a thumb. You're going to look like you did something, right? Lighting is looking a bit harsh for night, right? I need to still put the batteries into this mirror so we can get more light. Let me see if I can turn these lights up. I don't want glare, but I want to see, I want to make sure you can see what I've done. This color is a little bit more, is it more blue than perhaps my face? Let's dance it across the nose. And like shadow, we can spend some time, you know, diffusing and blending. Ooh, now I look sunburned. I think there's a lot of color payoff in this palette that perhaps I wasn't prepared for. Now, I could use a beauty sponge and tap it out, or I could just leave it be to see, you know, if I was dancing, if it would just wear through the evening. I could put powder over it to tone it down. I could, you know, also try to balance out the colors with some lipstick, which I am not wearing. So what are we going to do for lips? We definitely have a bunch of new products. These are the Maybelline Green Edition Balmy Lip Blushes. This one is in the shade Lightning, and it looks kind of mauvey. We have a shade Dusk, which looks a little bit more red, and Desert, which is a little bit of a toned down coral, and Sandalwood, which, you know, for the names of these products, you would think they'd be a lot more muted, but they're not, right? They're very, I think they're green in some sense. I was going to look up exactly how they're green, and I think I might have a complexion product somewhere that I can explore with you on a different day. But face is looking very vibrant, perhaps a little too vibrant, but I think this is kind of more of like a crayon, right? It's not super crazy bright, but maybe it'll create some balance so that we're not having a lip that's lifeless. This is surprisingly a conservative color. It's not giving us the color balance we expected, but I will tell you, this is the kind of product that I like to wear at work because you can put it on and you're not going to mess it up, right? It's muted, it looks natural, it does look satiny, so that gives it more of a lipstick look than a lip stain. It feels like it needs, and it looks like it needs a liner. So if we get down with that, I don't think I have any Sephora lip colors. I think I might have some stray blushes somewhere, but if we grab a lip pencil, right? And we also have these pale powders. We had worked with this Revolution pressed powder the other day. Maybe we'll give that a whirl as well. I always have ambition to put tape on my eyes, and I never think to do it. And I have a bunch of brow products, but I think I have 3 different lip liners from our friends at Mented. So, what is the darkest one? Right? Bare, Nude, and Dope. Looks like Dope is the darkest one. Did I try this the other day? I'm not sure. Dope. We'll try it just to see if it can ground. I think that's a good word for it. If it can ground this kind of mid-tone mauve. This is not far off from the color of my actual lips, but, you know, we want it to look a little more shapely, right? A little more, if not refined, then not just have it kind of be the same tone and weight as our skin color. Using our finger, blend that in, which is a very real world tool. And maybe our finger is taking off some of that shine as well. You know, in the evening, shine catches the light in a different way. I don't hate it. And I always like to take whatever's left on my finger from my lip color and get it onto my cheeks. Just, again, to give you color unity. This blush is screaming, right? Maybe the center of our face is a little bit too shiny, radiant, luminous, right? Maybe there's just too much color. So just using a velour puff, I'm very excited. I did order some velour puffs and I don't think they've arrived in the mail quite yet, but I am excited for them. I also have some other foundation powders. People have been talking about setting your makeup with loose powder and then setting powder. I haven't been doing that, but let's see if we can get a puff happening. If we can open this. Oh, so weak. Now our choker is looking compromised. You know, I encourage you to check me out on TikTok and also on Instagram. I've been posting reels. I've been having opinions about some of our friends who are in court for doing bad things, and also about our friend Kanye, who has so many things to say. So just this very pale translucent powder. Uh-oh, maybe that was too much. Translucent, right? Tapping that in to just take that screaming blush down and take that shininess, right? So that we really do restrict our shininess to the sides of the face and to that shimmer in the inner corner, right? It's almost like we're toning down the shine and toning down the color. There's a school of thought that says take a kabuki brush and blend, blend, blend all your makeup together. But I do think this translucent powder takes out shine in a really credible way, allows you to sharpen the edges of your lip, and look. You want to look the part, you know? You don't want people to question, did they cast the right person? If you're supposed to be glam, if you're supposed to be out to a dinner, you know, you want to turn heads, not only with your outfit and your hairdo, but you want your makeup to be on point. You want it to look inviting. You want it to look, what is the word? Charming. Charming and thoughtful and big eyes and full lips and, you know, an upturned nose, if not a small one. You know, some adorable jewelry, some evident brows. This may not be the best camera angle, but, you know, sometimes I feel like when I put on makeup, it makes me look like I've had plastic surgery, like my lips look altered, but maybe that's the point. Maybe that's the way it's supposed to look. And I will experiment with my back camera because I feel like I'm not really seeing my nose contour the way that I might. Now, we could also try to mess with a little, I believe this is liquid liner from this Elite Pro Beauty, Rosas Jóvenes. You've heard me talk about this. It's literally 99-cent store makeup, right? It has its own little, is this a brush tip applicator? Right? Just get a little bit of that. A little bit of that going, the thinnest line, right? Just practicing, right? We don't want a thick line. We don't want it heavy. We want to develop some confidence and knowledge that could tell us, we don't need a lot. We could even stroke it into our lashes just to give it a little bit of something, right? The difference between adding some black liner, maybe it's too much, too harsh. But, you know, working with it. It's only $1, right? Learning what this applicator do. Too much pressure and the line gets broad. A little inner corner flick. Right? Every day is about success and failure. Maybe this inner corner went better than the other. Maybe this outer corner went better than this one, right? The angle. Trying to think about having a symmetrical angle. Have we gone too far? Now this is an unglossed, eco-friendly, Go Green, Green Edition Balmy Lip Blush. A lip blush, right? With a liner by Mented. Oh, look, the eyeliner's going all over the place. Eek. This is a job for our beauty sponge. Or there's a school of thought that says let it dry and then scratch it off so that you're not smearing it. You know, we've done a very credible job of blushing and lip color and shadow, right? Taking it into the temple, sculpting the face. The colors look possible, if not credible. We know what my face looked like before, but if you marched around with this makeup on, I don't think you would have anything, you know, once we clean up these little drips and messes, I don't think you're going to be embarrassed about this makeup. But, you know, again, for a conservative application of mid-tone blush, mid-tone lip, some mid-tone shadow with shimmer. We haven't done anything crazy to our eyebrows, and we're just waiting to get all those little smudges off of our face so that we can take a thumbnail for our tutorial. I'm still shocked no one's joined my live. Boo hoo hoo. I don't know. Insights. What insights do I have to share? I am curious whether I'm, you know, due to go to the job tomorrow. Here we have a random spoolie from the dollar store. This is that same brand, Ioni, which is, you know, again, you're just trying to expand your collection of tools so that, you know, you have your expensive tools, you have your less expensive, right? Something like this is perfect for scraping off mistakes so that you don't have to get a micellar water involved. So this was still quite wet. You don't have to, this one's still quite wet too. We're just trying to lift it up. Oh my God, yikes. So now we know this product doesn't dry down that much. Are we gonna have to get micellar water involved? Maybe. Look at this. Yikes. What's happening? Things were going good. I guess I was in too much of a hurry to get this off my face. Now I have to clean this brush as well. But maybe the other end of the brush can be of use. You know, we have some layers of makeup on. And if we get this, you know, sort of just going into the right place, maybe it'll just look okay. But yeah, you can't expect perfection, but what you want to have is some sense of aesthetics that you can sort of do it and then feel like, you know, some amount of pride about what you've done to put together your outfit and your makeup, right? You could dab off the kind of satiny sheen of the lipstick, but I think this choker is quite wonderful. And should we put our headdress back on? It's kind of strange to wear because it's veil, right? It's a veil that needs to go over the face. We don't want to get lipstick on it, but I'm surprised how well this, you know, I feel like I'm Madonna in one of those, what was it, Take a Bow videos, right? But let me take a thumbnail and get this live for the people. Thank you for joining me here on House of Tanya, Spooky Edition, right? I really do like this tiara. Can you see my face? Maybe it's hiding the mistakes I made with my makeup tonight. All right, let me go and I'll take the picture and I'll post this and I'll see you very soon here on House of Tanya. Yay, bye.